can't do that, Mr. Tucson. So good. When I was 4 or 5, my mother remembers me saying, I want to change my name to Ringo, and I wanted to be the biggest rock and roll star there was, and sleep with all the girls I wanted to sleep with. That's what I told my mom at 4 or 5. Good evening, everybody. Hi, thanks for coming here. First song's Chorus Rebellion, so enjoy it, all right? Have some drinks. My name is William Brian Sedlmayr, but everybody calls me Billy, and I'm 58, and yeah, that's it. That's my introduction. I was born in Chicago. I was 2 years old when I came to Tucson. My dad got a job offer, and so we came out here in a station wagon. Tucson was like a world of wonders. I was playing cowboys and Indians. Me and my dad rode horses together, and I loved that. I loved that, man. That was a very happy thing for me. I got my first drum set, I was about 5th grade. Nobody had to tell me to practice, you know what I mean? I came home from school and I practiced, man. I would sit on my floor in my room and go over the liner notes of every album. I devoured records, man. That was my school, man.
I'm up here on one of Arizona's highest mountains to make an important point about your money. I'm Floyd Sedlmayr, chairman of FEMA Savings.
Growing up here with my father, who he was, I started to be like, it's Floyd Sedlmayr's kid, you know? And then that became a very, very tipped sword, you know? Sort of like, I think I fell on it a lot. I loved him, and I fought with him. We had this group called the Pedestrians. That would be probably the band that really started like prototyping punk rock. I loved Patti Smith. I liked Television, the New York Dolls, which was like pre-punk. So we had our own version of it here in Tucson. And it was really, it's a beautiful time. It's a beautiful time. It was also dark. This is 1978, 79. It was also a dark time. You know, you had El Salvador and the flooding of ghettos with cocaine, and the unvictory of Vietnam left a lot of things loose ends, you know. Next, fluctuated for a while, and then I met this guy, Reiner. He came into somewhere I was playing, and he had this striped shirt on. I still remember just exactly how he looked. And I went over to his house. He said, would you want to come play? And I got Dave to come, you know, and it was us three, and then Howie came down. We started the Giant Sandworms. It was a freaky little band.
Yeah, it was like a four-headed beast. Reiner confided in me. He was a little concerned that Billy might be into too many drugs. And back then I was into psychedelics so much that I thought, well, that'll be no problem. I didn't consider there was other kind of drugs.
Quickly, we, against most odds, we became fairly big. Somehow we had some wind behind us.
Within the first year, and we got as big as you could get being in Tucson.
We decided we had to go somewhere else to make it, LA or New York. We chose New York. I sort of went from the frying pan into the fire, you know what I mean? They thought there was trouble here. Well, I found it there.
he was in that state of mind where the music wasn't the top priority. Or if it was inside of him, he couldn't allow it to be all the time.
The shows were some were great and some were horrible. We had one at CBGB's where I was maybe not so great, a little loaded, maybe. I definitely was, not maybe. And Dave hurled his Strat at me. Stuff like that, it could have been breaks, you know, but we f***ed him up, you know. We came back and I think came back a little bit with our tail between our legs, feeling like, you know, like we hadn't accomplished. And it was really important to me that I wanted to accomplish. I wanted these things, man. I did so bad. Okay. So what happened was with the giant sandworms is this. People started doing little side projects. I was working on, well, a side project of my own. It wasn't music. And I was fired from the band. But in truth, I had become a liability instead of a creative force driving the band, which is what I had been before. So from there, really stuff escalated quickly. And in January of 1988, I stole a lady's car, and drove around Tucson looking for a place to rob. Stopped at a Dairy Queen. I had a screwdriver in my pocket. I said, "Empty out your cash register, give it to me, I have a gun."
I heard that Billy, when the cop jumped in the back of his pickup truck, I don't know if he was trying to shake the guy out of the truck or just driving frantically to get further away. And, but then he got nailed with attempted homicide, police officer.
When I went into prison, the first night when I got to the penitentiary in Cimarron, which was a gladiator camp at that time, and you know, it was a get-down place. A lot of guys died there, you know, and I saw a lot of heavy shit real quick. I got a pencil shoved in my ear that just missed my brain by, you know, like a smidge. Pretty crazy stuff, and I'm not at all. If I'm smiling, I ain't smiling. It's just at this point, I've had to lower a little bit of that shame because it's overbearing, man, and it eats you up and it makes you think that nothing and no one and anything you do does not change anything, and that's just not true. I began to read again, which had always been something that I loved, you know what I mean? And you could only get like 1 or 2 books. It was the biggest hassle, but I would hassle for anything to get books. These things spoke to me so heavy, and they inspired me. A guy had told me, hey, there's a guy you gotta meet. His name's Richard Shelton. I was a professor here at the U of A. He was head of the creative writing department and a very famous poet. And so I went to his class in prison. And writing really helped me get through those years. There we go. It's me, John Benet. He's an old friend of mine. It was in the Pedestrians. And Reiner, right when I got out of prison. Yeah, that's it. It's cool. You hurt the ones you love because they trust you, and there's room to hurt them. And I'm not beyond that today, you know, it's just something changed in me where I don't quite take it to the limit like I used to.
You know, when I started working with Billy, there was a lot of people in the music scene coming to me, like, speaking of his past and just, like, you need to be careful. Billy had a lot of unresolved relationships that maybe he had probably burned in one way or another. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of work that Billy had to do. It's been really cool to see his old friendships like come back together now. His commitment to his creativity is always very inspiring, and can't imagine it's easy for someone with as many issues as he has to face in his day-to-day life to stay so committed to his craft.
1, 2, 3, 4. Keeps me engaged, man, you know? And I can just appreciate it, man, that I am who I am, and yeah, it's not gonna pay my rent, certainly not gonna change the world at all. I don't have any illusions about that. It makes me feel good in here, and that's something, man. You gotta feel good about yourself. I came out here when I was a little boy. I come from Illinois. It was my daddy's only boy. Hi. Hi, baby. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I met Sarah at the writing class that I've been to, and she read this piece about Germany and about her mother's cooking, and I think I wasn't pretty. I was very knocked out by her. I've never had a relationship like that lasted this long, which is pretty crazy at my age, but it's true.
I think we managed to make fun of
Ourselves.
and our past a lot.
In the past, you know, and like instead of it being
it can be funny.
Sarah brought that into the relationship because it was a pretty dark, still can be for me when I'm by myself, man. You know, it changed my life to say the least. It brought some levity to it, man, and put a few laughs where there had been only something else. When my father got sick, she took me once or twice a week and made sure I got there to go visit him. And that meant so damn much to me. So we did, in the end, share some real love. And he said, you used to be a real asshole. But it was like, you know, you used to be an intolerable little and now you've shown me something that's different, you know? And that felt really good. Be the last song, everybody. Thanks a lot. Drive careful. Well, I came out here when I was a little boy. I come from Illinois. I was my daddy's only boy.
I think it's amazing that he's still standing and how he finally seems to put music as the most important thing. Everything else just falls slightly under it now.
Unfortunately, I feel like he might be one of those people, like the real recognition of how powerful that human was might not come till it's not around. But man, if anyone deserves their songwriting to be recognized and celebrated, it's definitely Billy.
A Tucson kills. Look, I wouldn't say there's a Hollywood happy ending, okay? And there's some sadness and some grief or whatever, but at the end of the day, you make your own happiness, that's for sure. I make my own.